positive thinking, but I want you to know that we have choices. Hi everybody, Helen Cernigliaro here, and my special guest today, Christina Mathieson Segura, is a business builder, educator, coach, speaker, and most importantly, double mastectomy breast cancer survivor. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. We are very good friends, and we're going to talk about, obviously, beating breast cancer, but I want to say something. You're going to see a lot of these questions repeated a lot of the time. But the thing is, and what I want you to realize, is that all the answers are going to be different, okay? Your journey might be a little different from where ours is or ended up, but I want you to know that you're not alone. My first question to Christina is, when were you diagnosed?
November 9th, 2020.
During COVID?
Yes, like in the middle of it. So we thought it was over, but it wasn't.
Yeah, of course. Now, how were you told? First of all, what stage was the cancer?
2.
2. Okay.
So what that means is that if you are before stage 2, that means that the cancer has not spread to anywhere else in your body. So I was at the beginning of stage 2, which meant that the cancer had spread to one of my lymph nodes.
I had the same thing. Okay. So we had the same thing, but we had different treatments. So tell me what your treatments were.
Well, my treatments were that I started chemotherapy, which was ACT chemo.
Explain to everybody what that is.
So it's a combination of 3 drugs. So first you get A and C. So the C isn't so bad, but the A is a killer. So it was an aggressive form of chemo. I have to say that in the very beginning, so let's take this. You mind if I go back to the very beginning and talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
When I got diagnosed, found a lump, convinced myself that everything was fine. You know, this happens, and I'm sure it's nothing. You go for a biopsy. You feel like you're a little bit of a science project at first. Did you feel that?
Absolutely.
And the odd thing was that when my primary care physician called, she was very matter of fact, and she said, "Well, your test came back positive. You have breast cancer. You need an oncologist and a surgeon." And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?"
How did you take that?
It was over the phone because it was COVID. So I remember just being shocked and really just not knowing what to do. And I think for most people, the not knowing what to do is the thing that gets us.
That was the worst.
And I'll tell you another thing that I think that there are not enough people like us telling our story. For some reason, you can have other forms of cancer, but to talk about boobs or to talk about breast cancer makes people uncomfortable.
It does. It does.
So you're not supposed to talk about it because you're not supposed to show them. So I immediately, I kind of like freaked out a little bit. I had to tell my kids on Zoom. And I hadn't told them that I was going for a biopsy. I hadn't told them of anything leading up to that point because I didn't want to worry them. I have 4 kids that are all very different, and they would all freak out in a very different way. I have 2 stepchildren that are also very different. So the 6 of them, we kind of picked and chose how we were going to tell them. So my 4 kids, we told them on Zoom. They freaked out. And one of the things that I found was the common thread every time I told somebody was I was telling them, "Don't worry, I'll be fine." Like,
how did you feel when they said, "I hope it all works out"? How did that make you feel?
So I always said that if I wrote a book about this, the first line would be what to say to someone when they tell you that they have some kind of thing, whether it's breast cancer.
Yeah. Okay.
So what my opinion is that you should say is, "I'm sorry you're going through this, and I know that you're going to be fine."
That's perfect, because when somebody told me, "Oh, I hope it all works out," that sent me over the deep end, because I felt like, you hope? What do you mean you hope it's going to work out? It's going to work out.
Right.
For me. Now, you're a coach, I'm a coach, we're all about positive thinking. Hope to me implies doubt. And that would send me into a tizzy. How did you feel when somebody said that to you?
Well, at first, I really tried to, I wasn't thinking about the words to use, and I was trying really hard not to tell everybody that I knew. And the reason was that I found that I was talking them off the ledge. And the second reason was that I really just was afraid of what they were going to say. So I have a very good friend. And when I said, they say that if you catch it early, my doctor said it's going to be a year of my life and then I'm going to be fine. And she said, well, as long as they caught it early, like,
yeah, that is just
that's not the thing,
so
right? That's not
awful.
the thing to say.
That,
So
it really
you
is.
can think those things.
Yeah.
But I believe that the proper response is probably, I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm sure everything's going to be okay. If I can do anything for you, don't hesitate to call. And so different of my friends responded differently.
Right.
I had one friend that just was like, I don't even know what to say. I can't get you out of this. I can't help you. I don't know what to do. But she verbalized that, and that was okay. I had other friends that said exactly the opposite. Like, you are such a, you're such a strong person.
Well, you needed that. You needed that support.
You need that support. And you need that
Absolutely.
reinforcement.
So,
but I felt like I didn't want to tell everybody because
I felt the same way.
So some people, and it doesn't make it not right. If you need that encouragement, if you need to put it on your social media or whatever it is, because you feel that need, do it.
Well, I had a core 4 that I leaned on a lot. Some of my family was there. They came to see me, some by Zoom, because as you said, during COVID, they couldn't come to see me. But I had a core 4 that I leaned on to tell me it was going to be okay, dried my tears, held my hand, took me to appointments. But I want to get back to the treatments now. So you had the surgery, you had both breasts removed.
First I had chemotherapy.
Chemotherapy, okay. And then go ahead.
And then I had on August 6th, so I had 6 months of chemotherapy. The first 3 months was one combination of drugs, and then I had a little bit of a break. And then it was every week I had a lower dose of another drug.
Now, you got what was called, I think, the Red Devil, right?
I did.
The Red Devil, you want to tell everybody about that one?
So the Red Devil has some long A name that doesn't really matter, but what matters was, so let's talk about leading up to chemo. I wasn't having it. I didn't want it. No, I didn't want it. And it came from, my mom had breast cancer 40 years before. It was a very different time then. The treatments were very different. And I always felt that chemotherapy, since I watched what my mom went through. Now, let me preface this by saying chemotherapy does drain you. And it does, many people lose their hair.
Did you miss work?
No. I planned my chemotherapy. I was around my work schedule. So for the first 3 months, I had chemo once every 3 weeks. I would do it on a Thursday so that I could work a little bit in the morning. I was out on Friday, but I worked so much up until then to get my ducks in a row so that the rest of my team could do what they had to do. And that was me being crazy, because it would have been fine if I missed work. It would have been fine. And one of the lessons that I learned was, like, give yourself some grace.
Some self-care, girl. Really?
Had to, and I never had that. I learned a lot through this, but let's go back. So when it came to, I went to the most wonderful breast surgeon in the whole world, Melissa Fana, at the Imbert Cancer Center in Bayshore. She was wonderful. And she spent an hour and a half with my, at that time, fiance and I, and explained all of the details of all of the science behind this, and receptors, and what the hormones do, and how the body reacts, and how they treat this, and all of these things. So she introduces the idea of chemo, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that, because I saw my mom 40 years before, so sick. She was throwing up, she was miserable, it seemed like she didn't catch a break. Now,
how did you do?
I didn't throw up once.
Me either. There you go.
It just goes to show that in my mind, my one daughter told me that I had some form of post-traumatic stress from this, as I was 17 and 18 when this was going on. So what this did to me as barely a child stayed in my mind, and then I repressed it.
I have a question about that. When you were diagnosed, for me, The second I was diagnosed, I decided I was going to be a breast cancer survivor. There was no if, ands, buts, maybe. It's like, I'm doing this. Let's get on
Yes.
with it. Let's go. And I think you were the same way.
Well, yes, I was. However, I decided that I was going to be a survivor, but I didn't know how I was getting there.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where the whole positive thinking can get you so far. And everybody that gets a diagnosis like this is absolutely allowed to lose it.
Oh, I did.
I did too.
Yeah.
And so I knew it wasn't like I thought that I would be okay. I really just knew in my heart of hearts that I was going to be fine and I was going to come out on the other side a year later and I was going to just go on with my life and it would be better. However, this chemo thing did not sit well with me. And I went to one oncologist when I'm really not hot on the idea, right? I'm like, oh, I guess, if I'm going to die if I don't do it, I guess I don't really have much of a choice. I was being a little dramatic that day. And she's let's say she's 28 years old. She's this little bit of a thing. She walks in, I'll never forget, in royal blue pants with a memo that itemized all of the different kinds of chemo that I was going to get. And I said to her, I never even agreed to this. I never agreed to this whole thing. And I cried the entire appointment, the only time that I ever did that. And I walked out. And it was one of those, it was really the time that it got me where I was in the car in the parking lot. You know, when you're crying, like with the snot, like that kind of crying,
yeah,
and you're
I
rocking?
do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
That was the only time I really lost it. And Dr. Fana called me and said, I heard you were just here. I heard what happened. And she walked me through and she said, will you see someone else? And
Wow.
she got me an appointment with another oncologist.
Good.
So that was a Friday. That was the Monday. And I went to see Dr. Yelda Nouri with New York Cancer and Blood. And she was so wonderful. And she was loving and nurturing. And I just needed to know that I was going to be fine.
Now, that was the chemo.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you feel about losing your hair?
I didn't think it was going to be so bad.
Okay.
So I had very long hair down my back, long straight blonde hair. And I decided, okay, well, if this is going to be a thing, I'm going to try to get used to it. So I started to progressively cut it shorter. And right before chemo started, I had very short hair. My hair now is longer than it was. So it was like a boy haircut. And then my daughter buzzed my hair off, right? They say that like at the 14th day or the 15th day, that's when your hair just falls out.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom losing her hair. And I remember her saying, is my hair falling out? Is my hair falling out? And I grabbed her hair and I was like, no. And I put it in my pocket. Like I just tried so hard for her not to go through that. So I thought, I'm taking control of this. I'm having my daughter buzz my head. And I had a whole bunch of wigs, which was cool for like 3 days. And it was winter. So I wasn't really thrilled with it. I also drive a convertible, so I was very interested if my wig was going to blow off.
I have to share this.
It did not.
Her husband, for her birthday, bought
For
her
Christmas.
for Christmas. While she was going through all this, what did he buy you?
He bought me a Mustang.
Mustang, not just a Mustang.
He bought me, and this was a pivotal moment for me, actually. So it should be noted that the car did not come in time for Christmas. And I gave him such a hard time because he said to me 2 days before Christmas, when he knew the car wasn't coming, I need you to tell me what to get you because I don't know what to get you. And I gave him the hardest time, like, you live with me, we're getting married, how could you not know? Meanwhile, when I found out that the car was being shipped, that he scoured the United States for the same Mustang that I had in 2008. He found it in Colorado and he had it transported. So it didn't arrive until New Year's Eve.
And he was with you
the whole
time. And he didn't bail, did he?
He didn't bail, and I married him.
Yeah.
The thing about our relationship, so I'm a very strong type A personality, and I don't really take advice well. And I didn't really take well. I never for 1 minute believed I was sick. I treated this as a project.
You know what? I just feel like you're looking in my soul. I have to say very quickly, we became friends because of the breast cancer. And that is one blessing, I have to say, because...
Well, we had been acquainted before.
But But once I put something on Facebook, you said, girl, we have to talk.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a beautiful friendship blossomed. But I want to get to, okay, you did the chemo, then the surgery. Okay.
So
how did that go?
It was 12 hours.
12 hours.
I think it was 12. I was sleeping, but somewhere around 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I had a skin-sparing double mastectomy.
Mm-hmm.
I had reconstruction, so I had deep flap reconstruction, which is very cool. And I also had a hysterectomy because my cancer was hormone-based. So it was the hat trick of surgeries. But essentially, I thought I was going to get implants. Rather than that, Dr. Jonathan Bank, the most amazing, wonderful man, plastic surgeon in the whole entire wide world, they cut you from hip to hip. You're sleeping, you don't feel it. And they take, that blob of fat that none of us really wants to have. So they took my blob of fat and they made boobs out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I woke up, albeit my skin was stretched, and I was like, where is that big giant blob of fat? And it was gone. So I have to tell you that there is definitely a plus side to all of this. And that's what I tried to look at. So, the evolution of my hair coming back and the recovery. I mean, I was home recovering for a good 6 weeks. It wasn't for somebody who's a mover and a shaker.
You still moved and you still shake.
No, I didn't move and shake.
You shook.
I only sat in my recliner, and I got up, and I felt like a very old woman that I was shuffling. I kept thinking of the Carol Burnett show with what was that guy, Tim
Conway.
Tim Conway, and how he used to do that shuffle, and I was like, damn it, this is how did this happen to me?
But you made it, girl. You made it.
I made it.
I think we have a question from Anna, our engineer. Hey, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, good evening. So my question, first of all, I think this is extremely informative and empowering. I'm just admired by both your courageousness to really do this. My question is, when I hear breast cancer, I just think that it just focuses more on the cancer just being in the breast, but where does it affect anywhere else in the body? And if so, for as a woman, what should I protect starting now and watch out for?
Well, first of all, you have to do your self-breast exams every month without fail, number one. You go for your mammography. You start at 40, but for some people who are high risk, if they have the BRCA gene or the ONCA gene in their family.
Or ATM. I have ATM.
ATM. You start earlier. You eat healthy. You follow a healthy lifestyle. As for it spreading, it can go to your bones, it can go to your lungs, it can go to your brain. There are no guarantees with any disease. There are no guarantees, but you keep a vigilance. Just yesterday, I'll say something really cool. I went for my mammogram and sonogram, and it came back clear. Another one. Woo! So you just make yourself vigilant about your health. That's really, really important. But Anna, there are just no guarantees anywhere, but you try the best you can. And I'm going to segue this into a question for Christina. What if it came back? What if? Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
What if it came back?
Well, considering that I no longer have breast tissue, I am very positive that it's not going to come back. As far as my lymph nodes and my other parts, I am told that because I am on hormone therapy,
me too,
that I will not need chemotherapy again. And if it comes back in some other place, I'll deal with it then. But I will not live my life in fear that something's going to happen. I could get hit by a truck tomorrow. Things could happen. And I am living my life every single day. I'm squeezing every drop out of my life, and I'm going places. and I'm doing things, and I'm not going to freak out or worry and live that life. I'm just not doing it.
So, how has it changed you going from your old normal to your new normal? Do you eat healthy? Do you not drink? Do you exercise? What's your mindset now? You just told me what the mindset is
Mhm.
that you are not going to be defined
Right.
by breast cancer. But what is how did it really change you? For me, just gratitude every day.
Mhm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I was
every
grateful
day.
before.
I was too, but it's different now. Don't you think it
I
feels a little
agree.
different
I agree that
inside?
it's different. I think that one of the things that came up for me was I knew that when I went through this, I had this underlying stuff from my mom's illness that I clearly, it was in there. So I did what you call shadow work with a wonderful woman named Danielle Massey. And that really helped me. So licensed psychotherapist helped me bring my stuff to the surface and ditch it. In terms of my health, I had always done yoga every morning before surgery, and I was very, very happy when I could even do modified yoga again after the surgery. So I still do that. I find that after doing chemotherapy for 6 months and after having surgery, the drugs that were in my body that made me feel loopy, I have no desire to ever feel loopy again. So if I have a half a glass of wine, it's a big deal.
Really?
Yeah, I have no desire to do it. I totally enjoy my mental fortitude. I totally enjoy being able to focus and not being foggy. That's one of the changes. But I think the most important change, quite honestly, for me has been that the job that I had before was, I wasn't working as hard and to the capacity that I should be. I'm a builder. I'm just a crazy, empire builder, and I love to grow businesses. And I approached someone in business that I admired and loved how he treated people and loved that he was an empire builder. And I said, can you find a position for me? Because I really would like to be on your team.
So you created it.
Well, we created it together.
Mhm.
And I go to work every day. So it sure is nice to go to an office full of happy people. And I'm just doing it. And I am so fulfilled with this job and the people that I work with and the things that I'm doing. I try to spend, as much time as I can with my kids and my grandchildren and my now husband, who's wonderful. I'm not taking anything for granted. I am just doing it every single day. Like I try to plan stuff every weekend, just thinking of between COVID and me recovering or going through something. I spent a lot of time on the couch, and I don't really want to spend any more time on the couch. So I'm going.
What would you do? What would you say to somebody who has just been recently diagnosed within a week? What would you say to them?
The hardest part is not knowing.
Yes.
The best thing that I did, and which is why I and you are doing the same. We're trying to be very forthcoming with, you're going to be okay. And this is what I went through, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is that for some reason I found people in my inner circle who knew people in their inner circle who had gone through something similar. They connected me and I talked to them on the phone. I needed other people that were strangers that weren't my family to tell me about what they went through. And I needed to know that they were fine.
Best gift you got, worst gift you got.
I don't have any worse gifts. Everything now is amazing because I've always lived in gratitude. However, I don't hesitate now with confidence or anything else to move forward and really just get what it is. Of course, we don't hurt anybody in the process, right?
No,
But
no,
what it is
absolutely.
that I might have said, oh, maybe next year. I don't do that anymore. And there is no worse gift.
You know what I'm learning is I'm trying to say yes to everything.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's a little scary,
It is.
really, stepping out of your comfort zone.
It
But
is.
at the same point, once you've been through all this, the chemo, the surgery, the pills, the meds, the this, the that, the follow-ups, because I don't know about you, but my follow-up yesterday, I'm sitting there and I say, okay, all right, what are you going to tell me today? And it all came out fine. And when the doctor walked in and said it's all good, I was holding my breath
Yeah.
and just like,
Yeah, 'cause
And
we're not doing that again.
no, we're not doing that again. Absolutely. Wow, you are amazing.
So are you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. And with breast cancer does come lessons and blessings. You are a blessing.
So are
And
you.
I thank
You
you.
know, the last thing that I want to leave off with is 1 in 8 women get breast cancer. And the reason that we're doing this is because you think that it's not going to be you, or it's not going to be your mom or your sister or your aunt. Just make sure that everybody gets checked. You see by us, right? We went through this year and now we're fine and we're thriving. So
Thank
get
you
checked.
again.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.